It's Boss Cowboy with Boss Cowboy Sports, and we talking about the 10 that's going to likely be available for Dallas, and I'm going through them in order, starting from the bottom. Put it on record because your voice matter. So today we talking about putting it on the record, starting with the guys that's likely going to be sitting there at 10 and what they mean to the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not going to tease it. Let's get right into it. And I'm going to tell you right now, 10th on the list with Boss Cowboy is Surtain. Now, the funny thing about Surtain is the most talked about right now. And anybody that knows the history of Dallas, we know that the person that's been leaked the most generally the final week is probably who we're going to pick. That happened so many times historically. It was leaks on Taco. It was leaks on LVE. It was even some leaks a little bit on Lamb. So that happens a lot to where you see the Cowboys and they start saying a lot. They start kind of showing their hand through the media a little bit. So you've been hearing talks, especially on Surtain, between him and Horn. So obviously corner is something they're looking at very seriously, and Surtain is that guy. But it's no knock to Surtain when I say this. I don't mean anything bad about this, but there is no way, in my opinion, looking at Surtain in good faith and honest assessment, where you also had the privilege of watching him play right beside Diggs, there is no way you can put a whole round of separation between Surtain and Diggs. No. You saw them and I saw them play together at the same time. There is no full round difference in that skill set. Now, we'll definitely give, for sure, Surtain his credit. You got to give him credit because his measurables on his pro day came out real good. Looking at him at 6'2", 208, 404 speed, jumped out the gym, good bench press, like he did what he's supposed to do. But at the same time, you cannot ignore the lack of game speed when you watch him play. And that's something that you have to be concerned with. So when I look at 10, I'm not just looking at trying to fix a defense. It's also looking at, can we find somebody like Surtain even in the later rounds? Just like Diggs failed. And we was even looking at rumors that Dallas was looking at getting him around 17 last year. So it's just, that's the biggest reach to me. Surtain is not saying he's not a good player, not saying that he's not a first rounder. I just don't see him as a top 10. I see him as a bottom first. Therefore, I have him 10th on my list. So, number 9. A lot of people that's been following me should already know this. I got the great Kyle Pitts as number 9 on my list. Majorly, it's not just him. Because if you look at him, his play is good. You look at, especially if you look at Ole Miss. It was the Ole Miss game. So if you look at the Ole Miss game, there's no way you can watch the Ole Miss game and his Georgia game and look at his tape and see where he has some ability to just take over. But it's obviously also very concerning if you're being honest. And I really try to be honest and not fall for any kind of hype of any kind. When I'm looking at Pitts and I look at the history of tight end, it's really not just his tape. It's also the translation of the position. So I'm just not that guy. I'm being all the way honest. I'm just not that guy that's fully prepared to drink all of the Kool-Aid that's been offered on Kyle Pitts. Because this is what people are saying when you're looking at Kyle Pitts. People are literally saying right now that they was able to look at Kyle Pitts in 8 games. Because most people don't want to talk about his sophomore year. They're drunk on his junior year. And it's no disrespect when I say this, but how in the world do you have Cowboy fans and a lot of different fans that just wanted Dak to play 50 games before they was able to know what he was, but you calling a tight end generational in 8? It just don't make sense. So it's one of those things to where I have to rank him because at 9, his tape is good, but I have to rank him at 9 on who I wish we would get, mainly because, again, the history of the position. But what does it mean if the Dallas Cowboys was to get him? Because that's the question. What will it mean if the Dallas Cowboys was to get Kyle Pitts? Well, if we was to get Kyle Pitts, what would happen is, and I'm obviously advertising the draft show that's coming up tomorrow, but what would happen is, if we was to get Kyle Pitts, you definitely help Dallas Cowboys in the red zone. Nobody's going to be against that. Everybody's going to be for that. So I'm not against that. I'm all the way for that. If we was to pick him, I'm wearing whatever number he is, the pitch train. I'm jumping on choo-choo. I'm doing all of that. I'm rocking with him. But at the same time, it's also recognizing that I don't really believe that he would be the best. It's not at 10. I think it's better returns on investments, and we'll talk about that. So one of the guys, obviously, that, you know, a lot of people, and I would say this next guy would actually be our most responsible, sneakily responsible. Now, you would say, why say the most responsible but haven't ranked 8? Well, also because I'm talking about Slater. With Slater, it's so many benefits to him as a pick. And I definitely understand why a lot of people are I would even call a little bit slightly drunk on him. I mean, when you see his measurables and you see how he graded, and his measurables was pretty much equal to Zach Martin. But it's the measurables is why you start even hearing the correlation between him and Zach Martin. People start going out the way, and actually to me start going a little bit way overboard when they start calling him Zach Martin Jr. That was just too much. It's too much because you only start saying that because his measurables was equal. That was it. That's the only reason people start saying Zach Martin. They were never saying his tape was Zach Martin Jr. They wasn't saying his punch was Zach Martin Jr. They only start saying that when they lined him up side by side. But that's honestly, I'm gonna look at you in your eye and tell you the truth. That is typical draft season combine malarkey when you hear that. And it's not saying he's not going to be a good player, but what's happening, I'm going to put it like this. I remember when Dorrance Armstrong was drafted by the Cowboys. You know what they was putting out? They was putting out and showing how Armstrong's measurables was exactly the measurables of Tank. But come on now, we know when they was on the field, they're different players. So measurables and what you do in gym shorts and running and all the stuff, it's important, but let's not get it twisted. Like when we talking about and we really trying to say, you know, that this guy Zach Martin Jr., it has to be more than just his epic combine. His pro day. You gotta look at more than that. It has to. That's to me just honestly lazy, right? So, but he rocked it. Nobody can say that he didn't knock it out the park. But I want to hear when people trying to say Zach Martin Jr., I want to hear, what do you think about his tape that's Zach Martin? I'm not interested in the Zach Martin measurables. I'm interested in the Zach Martin tape. Now, if you can give me the Zach Martin tape, then you got somebody that'll co-sign that and put him much higher. But I'm not on that train. Now, what does he mean to Dallas? Being positive. If we get him, what would it mean for Slater to be in Dallas? If you get Slater in Dallas, you get a great upgrade immediately at left guard. You get somebody that's an animal, somebody that that's a combo, or somebody that has a lot of versatility. He can play the tackle, he can play the guard. So he has solid measurables. I mean, everything that you want to see. You saw the tape against Chase. You definitely getting a major upgrade on that offensive line. You surely got a potential future right tackle. You get an immediate guard right now. You help the quarterback that you just paid. You also help the running back that some say are aging. It's a lot of dominoes that go with Slater. That's why going back, I said he's also still yet at number 8. Probably the most responsible pick. One of them. But I got more that's coming. So I'm just teasing y'all right now. We go stop right there. I'm going to tease and stop with Slater. But y'all stay and look out for the next video, because then we go talk about the rest that's on the list. So right now, we got 10 Surtain, 9 Pitts, 8 Slater. Y'all stay tuned to the next video, and we go talk about what these picks mean for the Dallas Cowboys.